addiction. While my addiction to collecting might not sound like a damaging addiction when compared to alcohol or drugs, it's still an addiction and can still cause problems with mental health or even debt difficulties for some. My addiction is with collecting. I find myself addicted to collecting physical media for movies. It felt like I had to have it all, and recently I took a look and it kind of felt like I was trying to have it all, like I'd dropped into some kind of hoarding type mentality. Recently I've started to recognise some of these behaviours and taken a closer look to what I would consider to be my problem, which would in turn allow me to start to try and rein it in and even clear some things out. Everything I've collected, I didn't need it all. It felt like I wanted it all, but I certainly didn't need it.
I've been driven by things that shouldn't have driven me and amounted stuff that I shouldn't have amounted, really. Stuff that I don't need. It is a case of want versus need, because you don't need anything really, but you want it. That's not to say I'm fully done with my bad habits. They still exist in part. I've made mistakes along the way.
All of this, it's just come from my habit, my addiction. And anyone that questioned my collecting, well, it's just my hobby. Let me enjoy it.
So I have to justify it to myself all the time. If I'm not impacting anything in the house, so bills, etc., there's no real issue. But yeah, I do find myself justifying on a lot of stuff. I've tried to change the habits.
So I've managed to pull back from this habit and addiction. But this last few weeks, they've been kind of tough. We've been dealing with family health issues, and along with that, a lot of costly failures around the house. From this, mentally, I was kind of drained. It was like everything in my life was feeling a little out of control. And from this, the old habits start creeping back. What's that thing that would make me feel better? What would pull me out of this spiral of feeling out of control? What was there that I could rely on? Ordering more stuff.
I've bought more stuff when my mood's been down, and I don't necessarily think it's with the intention of when it arrives I suddenly feel better. I'm just probably in that mood where I would normally logically think twice about buying something or wait until there was a price drop.
The package I have here, it's the stuff that would make me feel better again, somehow make everything okay. Or does it?
I did spend to make myself feel better, and in doing so got myself into a bit of trouble financially with it. So I've kind of stepped away from that. When I buy something that comes through, you do get that initial sort of, yeah, it feels good getting it. It's very rare that I actually feel a sort of buyer's remorse. I think I'm quite in control with that side of it. Do you know what I mean?
When the order was in, I realised I didn't need this stuff. I ordered these as a reaction to my mood. It was all in some kind of effort to try and escape the downer funk that I seemed to be in. And then something else dawned on me. A week or so previous, there was something else that I ordered. I hadn't realised until I actually sat down and thought about these movies that I'd ordered. That must also have been some kind of reaction to my mood and how I was feeling.
If I'm in a particularly low mood, then obviously buying something does help raise it up, but it's certainly affected by mood.
One thing, some of these items, there were things that I kind of wanted, but they're items that have previously sat happily in a wish list without a second thought. But now, my mood and my emotions are leading me back to these old habits and the old addictions, buying to make myself feel better.
The ordering, no, it doesn't really make me feel happy. I get that when it comes through, but it's a fleeting thing, isn't it? And then the sort of the reality hits, but it's not a negative thing for me, for the most part.
Does anyone else out there struggle in this way? If you're feeling down, does this send you into a spending spiral, or do you just shut down and kind of lose interest in everything?
Yeah, all the time. Mood can take me either way.
For me personally, when I hit these kind of funks, it does come down to spending more. And I think it kind of all boils down to control. All of these things happening around me, it makes me feel overwhelmed to the point that I really feel like I'm losing control of everything.
At that point, most definitely depression hit, and spending was just like, I get a pleasurable high from this. It sort of got out of control then. But I learnt a lot from that, to a point now where even though it still happens, it's kept within control of money that I can play with.
In falling back to my hobby of collecting movies, the choice of ordering something, it gives me that sense of having something that I'm actually in control of. I have the power. I can make the decision to buy the thing, even though, in reality, it's more like a loss of control.
That kind of rationality goes out the window, and I think I'll just get it now. I'll just order it, and I don't always recognise it at the time. It's kind of when I'm in a better mood that I look back and I think, oh my God, I've ordered so much stuff that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise.
Once again, I've fallen back into the habit, the addiction, that I'm trying to rein in. The addiction to collecting and ordering and hoarding and everything.
And if you don't recognise it, it's a very difficult thing to control. I will admit that. It's not easy. Getting from that to where I am now was a journey, and it took a long time. It was hard work to be able to do that. Not caring, spending whatever, to actually I'm in control. I'm in control of that.
With the ordering, for that brief moment in time, I'm in control. That dopamine hit I get from ordering, and then I get it again when I receive the item. It gives me that brief moment of pleasure. It never lasts.
I find myself looking on there all the time, on eBay, on Amazon, just flicking through. You know, it's like you just go to it as a sort of like a default without even thinking, because you've got your phone in hand, and it's such an easy thing to do, and it's 24 hours a day that you can sit there and you can shop, essentially. I'm sure we're all spending far more now than what we ever did. It's just easy. It's easy, and I'm sure that it's a difficult one.
These items, I didn't need them immediately. Since receiving them, nothing's changed. Well, nothing beyond increasing my movie collection and feeding the addiction that I'm trying to fight. Does my mood affect my addiction? Does it affect my ability to manage my self-control? There are other ways to help myself to improve my mood. I could go for a nice walk to clear my head and get some kind of perspective. I could release those endorphins and head to the gym and work out any issues. But those, they somehow feel less immediate when I could just sit on the sofa, scroll through my phone and place an order and have that dopamine hit straight away. I have that momentary sense of pleasure, that momentary sense of control. But for what? Feeding an addiction that I want to escape.